Q4 2021 is going to make so many freaking millionaires' faces will melt. It will be pretty gosh darn crazy. In this video, I'm going to lay out the case why I believe that the end of this year is going to see an epic rally for the cryptocurrency market, sending Bitcoin beyond $100,000. All the altcoins will go to the moon. My name's Lark. Every day I make videos talking about cryptocurrency investing. So if that's a topic you want to stay up to date with, maybe learn some more about, make sure you subscribe to the Lark Davis channel. Also, if you can just take a quick moment to tap on that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm, that'd be super, super awesome. And if you do want to know when I put out a new video, make sure to click that notification bell. By the way, every single week my team and I produce Wealth Mastery. This is a cryptocurrency investor report, basically the next best thing to having me as a personal cryptocurrency coach. Every single issue, you're going to get a deep dive on an altcoin, top-tier technical analysis, a step-by-step decentralized finance tutorial, token sales, airdrops, interviews, portfolio updates, trending coin analysis, and much, much more. All of that for less than $10 a week. Click on the link down below where you can learn more about becoming a member today. So let's start off with this. Quite simply, history does not repeat, but boy, oh boy, it sure does rhyme. Q4 is usually very, very bullish for Bitcoin. And of course, what is good for the golden Bitcoin goose is usually good for the altcoin gander. And I just want to make that really clear at the outset of this video. I'm talking about Bitcoin, but this really applies to the entire cryptocurrency market. Bitcoin, it's the tip of the spear. If we get a 200 or 300% rally for Bitcoin by the end of the year, potentially into Q1 2022, well, what do you think is going to happen to your altcoins? The top 100 altcoins are all going to go up crazy times. We're talking 5, 10, 20x for a lot of the top 100. Your lower cap altcoins, we're talking 100x moves here. It's going to be crazy. If you weren't around the end of 2017, when everything went nuts in a very short amount of time, thousands of percent gains in weeks, it was a pretty crazy time. That kind of euphoric blow off top is what we're looking for in the market here. Now, what we tend to see at the end of the year, Q4 tends to be a quite good month for the crypto markets, just in the same way that September is usually a pretty meh month, which is exactly what we've seen so far for this September, falling relatively in line with previous Septembers of not being very great price action. Now, a lot of Septembers finish in the red, and hey, maybe Bitcoin's going to pull off a bit of a rally, so we'll have a green finish for the month, but it's not going to be anything dramatic. We're not going to be up 20 or 30%, unlikely anyway, unless the Bitcoin ETF gets approved tomorrow. But more often than not, after that lackluster September, we get a very bullish end of the year. It's happened in 2013, it's happened in 2017, which I think are the most important ones because those are basically on the 4-year cycle of where we are right now in 2021, considering the 4-year halving cycles and all this stuff. So that's, I think, a very important bit of historical precedent that we should be paying attention to. Next up, this is a chart that I posted back in April. I had posted the same chart back in January, but we're kind of moving according to plan, despite all the drama, despite that horrific sell-off that happened back in June and May, despite all the drama of the last week. Everything's actually pretty normal right now within this Bitcoin cycle. These 20, 30, 40, 50% drawdowns within a bull market, pretty standard fare, to be honest. And look, I think right now we're seeing a situation where what's happening with Bitcoin now is a lot like what's happening with Bitcoin back in 2013, where we had this initial massive run-up, huge correction, and then a blow-off top at the end of 2013. The price rallied by over 300% from the previous high over here. Pretty similar thing, anyway, happened in the bull run of 2017. We had a massive run-up, big correction, and the year finished with a 300% plus rally. We could see that similar scenario playing out here where we had our big rally up to $65,000, massive correction. We could still see the year ending much higher. Remember, I made this back in April, right? This back in April. So back then I was saying, well, likely what we're going to see happen is a massive rally still coming for Bitcoin by the end of the year. That was at the time saying, well, we're looking at 250% rally from $60,000. Give or take some percentage points, we're looking at $180,000 to a $200,000 potential Bitcoin blow off top by the end of the year. And if you say that's not possible, remember, it happened in 2013, we had a 300% rally. It happened in 2017, we had a 300% rally. Oh, but the market was different back then, Lark. Smaller, okay? Not the same. Well, yes, it was smaller back then, but now we also have so many more ways for things to get money to get into the market. We have so many banks offering crypto. We have the ETFs and all this stuff. It's so much easier. There's so much more money that can come in and pump it up so much faster. In order to have a higher bull run, you need to have more money to be able to come into the market, which is exactly what we have. I mean, if you tried buying Bitcoin back in 2017, it was a pain in the butt. In 2013, come on, man. Come on, man. It's a totally different market, but a market with a lot more money in it. By the way, I would like to point out that what we've seen with the markets so far, we have longer cycles. So the first bull market was 54 weeks, second was 75 weeks. I'm predicting that this one is also going to end up being a bit longer than the previous bull markets. So maybe we're looking at 85, 95, 100 weeks, for example. Now that is going to potentially push us beyond 2021. So I think it's really important to point this out. Lengthening cycles, diminishing returns. So the percentage pumps compared to previous cycles is not going to be as high. That still gets us up to our $180,000, $200,000 Bitcoin though, but it doesn't get us up to $1 million Bitcoin by the end of the year. Got to keep it somewhat, within the bounds of reason here, right? But with our lengthening cycle theory, basically the idea is that, well, yeah, Q4, I think it's going to be bullish regardless. But is Q4 going to be the blow off top? That's an important question to ask yourself. Maybe it isn't. Maybe our blow off top rolls over into 2022. Maybe we get our blow off top in late January, mid-February, the start of March, something like that. So we could see this cycle playing out a bit longer based on that theory. But this is not changing the fact that Q4 is going to be bullish. It's not changing the fact that I do not believe this bull market is even close to being over. Next up, I'd like to point out here that the last two bull runs, this is very interesting. The last two bull runs saw massive sell-offs in July, in fact, reaching a peak selling point. So you can see the red arrows, peak selling point here in July, peak selling point here in July. Oh, and look what's happened in 2021, a peak selling point in July. Interesting. Also, we had lackluster Septembers in both of those years. Here we had a pretty meh September. Here we had a pretty meh September. Our current September is also looking not mega hot. And then in both of those previous scenarios, the price of Bitcoin pumped like crazy in Q4. Lots of indicators we could pull out to show this here, but you get the idea. Reason number 4, on-chain data remains very, very bullish for Bitcoin. Peak Bitcoin supply has already happened, according to my opinion. The charts also show that we are likely in a post-peak Bitcoin scenario. Most likely, this was the peak right here, early 2020. That was the peak of liquid supply for Bitcoin. It was the peak of Bitcoin available on exchanges. It's only downhill from here. It's only downhill from here. Bitcoin will become more scarce on exchanges. It'll be harder for people to get their hands on that Bitcoin, of course, at a reasonable price. There will always be Bitcoin on the market. The question is, how much are you going to have to pay for that Bitcoin? We're going to see a very interesting scenario here. For the moon mathematicians out there, we have a declining supply of Bitcoin. We have a situation where demand is increasing, the available money to come into the market is increasing, and adoption is increasing all the time. What's all that equal? M-O-O-N. That spells moon. That's what that equals. Let's move on to the fifth point here. one of the biggest catalysts, and I think we do need a big catalyst here. One of the biggest potential catalysts for Bitcoin to go hundreds of percent by the end of the year is, of course, the approval of Bitcoin ETF. Now, there's no guarantee that we're going to get a Bitcoin ETF happening. Lots of rumors, lots of speculation, lots of great applications from the world's most respected financial players, Fidelity and Invesco and Morgan Stanley, and all these guys have put in Bitcoin ETF applications. The SEC's really doing a disservice to investors and all these companies. But I think we are going to get that Bitcoin ETF approved. Rumors are saying that we're going to see an October approval for a futures-backed Bitcoin ETF, which is not really what we want. Futures-backed Bitcoin ETFs are garbage because they're only backed by paper. There's no real Bitcoin behind those. That's what the SEC says they would prefer to protect investors. SEC, man. But maybe a futures-backed ETF will be a gateway drug for a spot-backed ETF, which is what the market really, really wants. The market doesn't want futures-backed ETFs. It'll take it, but they want the spot-backed ETFs. But even with a futures-backed ETF, that will probably still pump up the market significantly. Maybe that leads the way to a spot-backed ETF, which will pump the market even more because that actually then gobbles up actual Bitcoin off of the markets and puts it into these ETF products for people to buy and hold on to, which is very, very significant. Now, that's not the only potential catalyst. Other big potential catalysts include the Ethereum merge. Now, that's likely to happen Q1 2022. Kind of aligns with our lengthening cycle theory. Maybe the Ethereum merge is the blow-off top for the market. Major companies buying Bitcoin. Look what MicroStrategy did. MicroStrategy basically ignited the bull run. Then Tesla came in and pushed us from $40,000 up to $65,000. That FOMO, the narrative and the news around that was very, very important. If we have another major company coming out, say they're buying Bitcoin, I think that reignites corporate treasury FOMO and definitely the narrative around corporate treasury FOMO. Is it going to be Facebook? Is it going to be Apple? Is it going to be Microsoft? Is it going to be, some of the more newer tech trendy companies like Uber or Netflix? Who knows? Who knows? But there is going to be more companies buying Bitcoin. Is it going to happen in Q4? No idea, but it's a potential wild card catalyst. Regulatory clarity in the USA, that's a big topic. This infrastructure bill is going forward. And even if the regulatory clarity sucks, which the current wording in the bill does kind of suck. Even if the regulatory clarity sucks, it's still regulatory clarity. The markets will react favorably to that. At least then they'll know, okay, well, here is the little pen that we get to operate in, and we know that we can operate here safely. That will be a good thing for a lot of the market to see that clarity come through. And number 4 would be if Ripple wins the lawsuit. Now, this would be a pretty big one. And look, whether you love or hate Ripple, the lawsuit is a pretty damn big deal. And if they win the lawsuit against the SEC, that sets an incredible precedent. Because right now, the SEC is basically saying almost everything is a security. And almost everything will need to be delisted from U.S. exchanges. But if Ripple proves that they're not a security, that sets an incredible precedent for the rest of these tokens. So that would be a very big potential catalyst as well, I think. Definitely something that the crypto industry would react favorably to if we do see it play out like that. Now, what could invalidate a Q4 mega millionaire making pump? Well, if we don't get a Bitcoin ETF, that's not going to be awesome. That's a lack of a major catalyst, I would say. Maybe the SEC really doubles down on what it's already saying, that it's going to go after exchanges, that it's going to go after stable coins, that it's going to go after cryptocurrency developers, which they have been talking a lot about. I think we're going to see a lot of that. I think we're going to see a lot of lawsuits from the SEC. Where those go, how much those shake the market, the extent to which this happens will determine, I think, the general mood of the market in Q4. We could, of course, see these macro situations continue to play out. I mean, look, Evergrande was able to pay off their interest payments this week, but they haven't solved their $300 billion debt problem yet, although the Chinese central bank has stepped in with $20 billion to shore up the banks and the lenders, so it's probably going to be fine, but there's always these risks in the global macro sense that could drag the stock markets down. If an Evergrande contagion event happens, well, that would be the exact sort of catalyst to do that. The Fed, they've come out and said that tapering will come soon. When soon is, who knows, but that's one of those things that if the market reacts badly when that happens, I mean, they should be expecting, this should be priced into the market at this point, but regardless, whenever that's finally announced, that may shake up the markets a little bit and bring confidence down. Final thoughts here. Whether I am right or wrong on my Q4 pump thesis, and I could be wrong, I could be right. We'll see how it plays out. I hope I'm going to be right. Be fantastic. If I'm wrong, well, c'est la vie. It doesn't change my macro thesis on cryptocurrency as an investment class. I'm thinking beyond tomorrow, next week, next month, next quarter. I'm looking years ahead. Where are these things going to be? What is the investment potential of these assets on the long term? I think cryptocurrencies are going to be the biggest wealth creation vehicle of the 2020s. Anybody not invested in crypto is missing out on life-changing gains potentials. Word, of course, of caution, even though we've talked about Bitcoin primarily in this video, and I look at Bitcoin as a long-term wealth asset. Ethereum, I'm also taking a very long-term view on. A few of the other top altcoins, I'm also getting sort of those bullish long-term vibes on, but I know that a lot of you guys, especially if you're not a millionaire already or you have hundreds of thousands of dollars to throw into the market and just throw it into Bitcoin and Ethereum, sit back and wait. If you're playing around with those low cap altcoins, trying to make it, trying to get that 50, 100x gain, it's a great way to make money in this market, but you have to have an exit plan, man. A lot of these altcoins are mega, mega speculative. Do not give all of your gains back to the market. When we get this insane parabolic rally, you got to start laddering out. You got to start taking profits. You got to get your money, into stable coins or, put it into Bitcoin or whatever, or maybe put it into stable coins and wait for Bitcoin to correct, down from $200,000 to $100,000, and then you buy some more Bitcoin. But make sure you have an exit plan, because a lot of people got super freaking rich in 2017 for a couple of weeks, and then they lost it all. They handed it all straight back to the market. And in many cases, they ended up with a lot less money than they put in after 6 months. So not only did they not take any of those gains, they realized dramatic losses. Don't let that be you. Anyway, just my 2 Satoshis for the day. What do you think about my Q4 pump thesis? Do you think that Q4 2021 is going to be a massive pump? Maybe, of course, as we said, we get that lengthening cycle theory where we see the pump actually roll into 2022. Maybe our Bitcoin blow off top doesn't come till like February or something. Or are you a lot more bearish? Do you think, Lark, what are you talking about here, dude? You're crazy. Get off the hopium, bro. We're already in a bear market. Things are going to go down 90%. Sell now or repent later. Let me know your opinion down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching today's video, and peace out till next time.